Can we just be honest? Al Sharpton is the original grifter. So if you don't know, back in the days in New York, anytime there was any kind of racial conflict, this fat ass would show up in a jumpsuit, and he would demagogue against Jews, by the way, specifically, and get people super mad to the point where they nearly attacked Jewish people. And he was a menace, an absolute menace in the New York area, okay? Now, if you criticize Al Sharpton, go, well, you're being a racist! Racist! No. Why? Because he's now part of the establishment. So now his new mob, the establishment cartel, protects Al Sharpton, and as he runs the scam time and time again.
What do you want 50 years from now, history to say about Kamala Harris?
I hope that, and I really do work, that my life will have proven to have been a life that is about fighting for the people.
Madam Vice President,
Glad
to have you here. Ready to bring the funk?
I'm trying. I'm trying.
Let's get right to it.
Okay, so we're going to talk about how the people who are interviewing Harris during the campaign got massive amounts of cash, either through their non-for-profits, media companies, what have you. And they're trying to say there's nothing to see here. Let's talk about it.
The cost of that softball interview was a whopping $500,000. That is what the Harris campaign provided to Al Sharpton's nonprofit prior to her sit-down interview with Sharpton, and that's certainly raising some eyebrows. Certainly because, it goes against common journalistic ethics. But nonetheless, the Harris campaign made two separate $250,000 donations to Al Sharpton's National Action Network, an anti-discrimination group, on September 5th and on October 1st, the second coming weeks before Sharpton interviewed Harris on the network.
Okay, so let's understand what's going on here. This is, to me, my opinion, a form of payola, right? I'm not going to give you the $500,000 directly because, I want to pretend that this has nothing to do with that. So I'm going to dump $500,000 into your non-for-profit, the National Action Network. Now, obviously, Al Sharpton heads the National Action Network. He is going to control how that money is being spent. So he has that $500,000. And then we'll do the interview. Does that make it more likely that you're going to give me a softball interview or you're going to ask me real questions? And even ethically, how could MSNBC allow Al Sharpton to interview Harris without disclosing the donation, right? At the beginning of the interview, he's supposed to disclose it. The Harris campaign has donated $500,000 to the National Action Network, which I am, the owner of or whatever. And then you say, oh, okay. So at least people understand that there's this conflict of interest there going into this. But they didn't. And that should concern anyone who watches MSNBC. Because now I'm talking about, was Morning Joe paid? All those places that were pitching Kamala, who were saying that these were such great ideas, even in the face of the facts and reality of the situation, were they paid? Because it's obvious the softball interview she had with Al Sharpton was paid for in full.
Now, Sharpton did not mention the contributions that the Harris campaign made to his nonprofit at all. There was no disclosure about it whatsoever. And as far as MSNBC goes, they told Chuck Ross at the Washington Free Beacon that they were unaware of the campaign donation or the donation to the nonprofit owned by Al Sharpton. Now, that could be true. I don't know, but MSNBC would not confirm whether they're considering reprimanding Sharpton, if there's going to be any consequences for this. Now, the Society of Professional Journalists also told the Free Beacon, while Al Sharpton may not consider himself a journalist, many viewers do. When TV news broadcasters do not report their conflicts of interest or conduct their work in ways that run counter to ethical journalism, it builds distrust among their audiences and places a black eye on both their network and the profession.
Now let me pause the video real quick because here's a quick word from our sponsor, FlexiSpot. All right, folks, I want to talk to you about something that's haunted me ever since I started this YouTube game, and that's bad chairs. You know what I'm talking about, the kind that leaves your back sore, that wobbles, squeaks, and that tips over if you lean back too far. Yeah, those type of chairs. That's why I upgraded to the FlexiSpot C7 Max. Now, let me tell you, this chair is a game changer. It's not just comfortable, but it's built for the way we work, the way we play, and everything in between. Just to show you I'm not even joking, here are a couple of chairs. This one I bought from Amazon. This is supposed to be the executive chair, and this chair is horrible. And now I bought this other chair, this time from a furniture store, and I paid like $300 for it. This chair looks great, but again, it is super uncomfortable. Now, the FlexiSpot C7, I'm telling you, it makes these chairs look like wooden stools. All right. You need specifics. Well, first, they have adaptive lumbar support that molds perfectly to your spine, making it very comfortable to sit in this chair. It's also great if you happen to be taller or shorter because the backrest adjusts for your height. This chair has a pull-out footrest, it reclines, and it has 5D armrests that adjust to put it in any position you want. Like my other chairs, you can't adjust those armrests. Now, just so you guys are fully aware, the FlexiSpot C7 is a chair I use every day. This is a chair I'm actually shooting this ad in. This is the chair I only use. It is that comfortable. Okay, so here's the best part. You get a 30-day risk-free trial, and you get a 5-year warranty on this particular chair. Now, right now for Black Friday, you can snag the best deal for this C7 Max FlexiSpot using my code 24BFC7. That's 24BFC7, and you can save an extra $50 off this chair. Now, don't wait. Save the chair and go to flexispot.com and upgrade your workspace today.
So, you know, earlier, I think it was last week, we had Representative Ro Khanna on the show, and we asked him the questions we wanted to ask him. Had Ro Khanna provided a donation to a nonprofit that doesn't exist, I don't have a nonprofit, I would at least have to disclose that to you, but that would be a conflict of interest. I wouldn't have taken that money to begin with, because that money influences the way you're going to carry out this interview.
And that key fact that Anna just said makes sense. That's why I think a lot of people were shocked to see that Harris was paying off so many of her interviewers. Here is, let's look at some of this. First reported, we have Reverend Al's 250. So here's the actual FEC filings, because you know I like to go right to the documents. But here's National Action Network donation, $250,000, and then a contribution for $250,000. So this is from the federal election. So you see it yourself. I remember we go to the source here. Now Roland Martin got $350,000. New Vision Media. And that's the FEC report. So here it is, just so you guys can see it. So this is not made up. Harris for president, New Vision Media buy $350,000. And last but not least, the big dog out the group, Oprah Winfrey, she got $1 million. Some people are reporting more now, but that's Harper Production. That's her production company. So production companies, not-for-profits, and their media companies all are getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, the reason why the MSNBC one is getting a little bit more scrutiny today with TYT is because Al Sharpton is an employee of MSNBC. And if he's taking a kickback from the person he's about to interview on behalf of MSNBC, that's the ethics of that are crazy. And matter of fact, it's so disgusting that would happen. Right. And then for MSNBC to not disclose it, they said they weren't even aware of it, is another issue. And that makes this interview even more suspect. But, you know, Harris didn't win the election. I don't think this interview is going to help her win the election. But it really shows you how when it comes to Democrats spending money frivolously, this is it. She could have went on Joe Rogan for free and reached 100 million people. She went on with Al Sharpton. And how many views did this get? All right, here's the interview. 266,000 views. That's it. That's all they got. And she paid, what, $500,000 for that? Well, damn. My videos get more views than that. She could have came on my channel and got a bigger audience than the 266,000 she did on MSNBC. Now, obviously, this is all corrupt stuff. It may not be illegal, but it's obviously corrupt. And one thing I gotta now agree with Cenk about is that he's going to call out this ridiculous corruption.
Okay, can we just be honest? Al Sharpton is the original grifter. So if you don't know, back in the days in New York, anytime there was any kind of racial conflict, this fat ass would show up in a jumpsuit, and he would demagogue against Jews, by the way, specifically, and get people super mad to the point where they nearly attacked Jewish people. And he was a menace, an absolute menace in the New York area, okay? And then all that got magically forgiven. Why did it get forgiven when that stuff never gets forgiven?
Why did it get forgiven?
Because he decided to embrace professional corruption. He was running 2-bit scams back in the day because he didn't know any better, right? But he's a smart guy, so he wisened up and he's like, oh, the way the professionals do this is they kiss the ass of the donors, they kiss the ass of the politicians, and they get the real money, the big money. And did he shake down a lot of businesses saying, hey, if you don't give me money, I'm going to call you racist? Okay, go ahead and catch feelings. Yes, he did. Okay, and do you want to know how Comcast was allowed to merge and actually acquire NBC and MSNBC? They had a massive race problem. Al Sharpton came in and said, no, they don't. They don't have any race problem. Guess where Al Sharpton wound up? Hired by Comcast at MSNBC. Funny how that works.
Which Cenk is actually saying is correct. And I found a clip from CNN to prove what he's saying is correct.
He's a host on MSNBC and one of America's most prominent, outspoken civil rights activists. And now Al Sharpton, along with Comcast and Time Warner Cable, are facing a $20 billion lawsuit over alleged racial discrimination against black-owned media companies. Now, in the complaint, Byron Allen, a comedian, TV presenter, and CEO of Entertainment Studios, alleges that Comcast gave Al Sharpton that 6 p.m. show on MSNBC, for which he's been paid approximately $750,000 per year, despite notoriously low ratings, and in exchange for his continued public support for Comcast on issues of diversity.
Real simple. The cable industry, AT&T, DirecTV, Comcast, Time Warner, they spent about $50 billion a year licensing cable networks and advertising, with less than $3 million per year going to 100% African American owned media. Now what they do is they make token donations to people like Al Sharpton, the NAACP, the Urban League, and after taking those donations, they negotiated a fraudulent MOU that says this is okay for black people to live by. What America needs to understand is that Al Sharpton does not speak for me. Al Sharpton does not speak for black people. It's like I ask people, who is the white person who speaks for you? It's racist to even believe that Al Sharpton is the go-to person.
So Jake came with some receipts.
Right? He got way better on his grift, okay? And he's been taking this kind of money his whole life, and that's why he does the softball interviews. That's why if you criticize Al Sharpton in the old days, people are like, God damn, yes. Now if you criticize Al Sharpton, they go, oh, well, you're being a racist! Racist! No. Why? Because he's now part of the establishment. So now his new mob, the establishment cartel, protects Al Sharpton, and as he runs the scam time and time again. And there he is sitting on Morning Joe as they lecture about good journalism, a story we covered earlier in the show, right?
Wow.
Come on.
Look, I knew some of that about Al Sharpton. I didn't know about him shaking down businesses in New York.
Now, the race hustle and shakedown grift was a familiar grift, right? Al Sharpton shows up, calls racism, you got protests and everything. And to stop the protests and to stop the mobs, they would, give a donation to the National Action Network, of X amount of dollars, and guess what? The protests go away. So it was a way of essentially like the mob, a way of getting money out of people's pockets by threatening them with bad press about racism. And Al Sharpton was able to galvanize people and get people out there to stand on that street corner and say, hey, these people are racist, don't shop here or whatever. And that had an impact. So if you're a business owner and you need people to shop there, you're going to pay whatever needs to be paid to get butts walking through that door, right?
With allegations of racism.
Oh, he went on and on. He was in the middle of creating riots. So he would go into the most, flammable situations, for lack of a better word, and he would come in there with a match and start lighting things on fire, right? And when he went after it, he said, oh, the Jews are running these businesses and rile people up against Jewish Americans. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And okay, so that happens from time to time with a Nick Fuentes, etc. But Nick Fuentes is like
persona non grata.
Yeah, he's
right?
totally shunned by everyone who's legitimate. But Al Sharpton welcomed with open arms. Why? Because he switched up his grift. And he realized the establishment grift is the best grift of all. You set up a nonprofit, they funnel you $500,000, you kiss their ass on air, and if anybody accuses you of anything, you just call them racist. So he's been playing identity politics his whole life. He's nothing but a grifter. So if any of you catch feelings over that because you were part of his grift and he donated a little bit to your show or he donated a little bit to your organization, by the way, that's a smart way to run the grift. What you do is you dole out a little tiny taste of the money you got from giant corporations, etc., so that everybody shuts up about the scam that you're running. So there you go. And look, I didn't say any of it was illegal. It's my opinion that he's a giant grifter, okay? And you could look up all that information on your own.
All right, I agree with Cenk. Al Sharpton is a race grifter. Now listen, I'm a black man saying this. Al Sharpton's whole gig is to find racism everywhere, because every time the police have an interaction with a black person, someone's not given something in a bakery or something, Al Sharpton makes money from those events. He's not going to these things at the goodness of his heart. He knows he's going to get a check when his face is on TV, when Comcast says, we need somebody to pretend that we're helping black people. Let's pay off Al Sharpton, right? That's what Cenk is saying. Cenk is saying now, the movement that people like Al Sharpton are promoting isn't for racial justice. It's for their own pockets. And don't get me wrong, there are racists still here in America. You're not going to eradicate racism. But racism is not at the scale as it was back in the 50s. And Al Sharpton and a lot of these super progressive policies pretend that we're still in the Jim Crow era, which we're not. And I think at the end of the day, exposing Al Sharpton for who he is makes this country better. But tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section. Tell me, hey, Nate, you got this one wrong. Al Sharpton's a good guy. He's the salt of the earth, and he's just calling it like he's seeing it. If he is, then why take the money? So, with that being said, don't forget, like, subscribe, do all the great YouTube stuff. I'm out of here. Peace.